Hey y'all, today we're going to be discussing how to review a monthly budget. Now, the big question is, why should I have a budget? I personally draw my answer from a book titled The Richest Man in Babylon. And without going into too much detail today, this book is about, as the name suggests, the richest man in Babylon and the parables he uses to teach his students. Now, one of the very first lessons he teaches in building great wealth is knowing where your money is going. This really resonated with me as I desire to become financially free as soon as possible. By keeping track of where my money goes, I can make changes to my behavior. For example, instead of spending too much money going out to eat, I could skip going out to eat once a month and use that money to either pay down debt or make an investment that will yield a return. So let's get started. I'll share my screen real quick. So all it requires is some form of Excel. I'll be using Google Sheets for today. So you're going to open up a new document and title it Your Budget. So if you look in the top left here, you can see I've titled it John's Budget. Then what I like to do next is title my columns to keep myself organized. Our first column is going to be expenses. Expenses here. The second column is going to be budgeted costs. And then the third column is going to be actual costs. And then I skip a few rows down and put a total at the bottom because I'll be summing up all these costs and comparing it to my income later. I'll list my income at the top right so I can know, or so I can take how much I make and then compare it to my expenses. Come on, there. And then I'll start listing my monthly expenses by category. So I'll skip to this next sheet here. So you can detail your sheet however you'd like, however it makes it easier for you to read. I personally like to bold my title heads so that it's easier for me to go to those and see them. I also like to bold my total column as well, so I know exactly what my totals are for my budgeted costs and my actual costs. So now I'm going to start listing my expenses by category. We do this because there are many things you can lump together so that you don't have a list that is, 50 lines too long, and then you're scrolling back and forth on your sheet, not knowing where, a certain expense is. So here's a quick example of that. The first thing I like to expense is my housing costs. For me, I have a mortgage for my house, so that's my first cost I'll list first. Then from there, I like to list my utilities, things that are essential, and then I go to non-essential from there. So usually we'll do gas first, then we'll do water, then electric, so on and so forth. Then we'll get into groceries, gas for your car to get to your job, and then the list goes on. And then once you're done totaling your list, it should look something like this. Now go ahead, take a minute to look at it, see how it compares to you. If you have any questions about what I have listed, just comment below and ask, and I'll answer your question as soon as possible. Of note, the only thing I like to put an other at the bottom because there's always these one-off expenses that don't line up with some of the other columns that I have. So that's how I account for that. A good example would be at the end of 2023, we owed a little extra in back taxes. So when we made that payment, I put that in the other column because it doesn't really apply to any of the other things that I have. So now once you've created the framework for your budget, we're going to start entering some of our amounts. Now, how do we do that, you may ask? Well, you have to start with what you make, your income. We'll put that in the top right. Now, some of you may be wondering how to make it look like money. On Google Sheets, it's really nice. They actually have this little dollar sign up here. It's called Format as Currency. You click on that, and then it helps, or then makes your numbers look like money, so it's a little easier to visualize for your budget. All right, so now we're going to start listing our expenses. So our budgeted cost, we'll say it's $1,500. Utilities, electric will be 100 because it's a summertime. Water, we'll say 60. Gas, 35. Internet, 55. 50. Student loan payment. My wife and I were lucky. We just paid off our last student loan. But for some of you, if you have student loans, like I had this on my expense sheet for this year because we're paying student loans, but now it's zero for us. Groceries, we spend about $450 a month in groceries. For gas, we do about 400. clothes, cleaners, we'll say 75. Education. For us, we do this for like seminars or uh, my wife does CEUs, additional learning credits. So we'll budget for that there. So $50 for a class that she needs to take. Dog expenses, we have 5 dogs. So believe me, that adds up quick. So for dog food, we usually account for usually about 150 to 200. It just depends on the month, depends on how much food we have left over. For housing items, that's it could be picture frames, pillows. I know my wife loves to shop, so sometimes we budget a little extra in case she wants to make the house look nice. For car expenses, this could be like oil changes or brakes. Now, all you car nerds out there, don't get upset with me for not allocating the proper amount. I'm just throwing a random number in there. For traveling, we're not going to do any traveling this month, so for sake of example, I'll put 0. But usually we travel or let's say every few months here and there, so we do have that expense on because it's something we do or during the year. Entertainment, these are like our date nights, so we'll say like 75. Day nights with activities specifically. Eating out, so we'll say 350. That also includes date nights, of course. Hobbies, let's see what we spend here. Say 75 for hobbies. Subscriptions, realistically, is about $50 a month. Gifts, no birthdays coming up this month, so we'll put 0 for this month. But I know my brother and sister are coming up in October, so we'll have to budget for that as well. For people medical, we count for really any copays that insurance doesn't cover. And then I can't think of any other expenses for this month either. But if you want, you can put a fudge factor, like oh no, I didn't count for a factor. And usually if we did that, we'd do like $200. So now we're going to do a quick Excel function to sum all these categories up. Bet you didn't think you learned something about Excel today. All right, so we're going to click on that box. We're going to hit the equal sign. And then we're lucky in Google Sheets, it actually pops up with the formula that we're going to use today. I can't remember if Excel does that or not, but in Google Sheets it does. So I'll type it in. Just in Excel, it's the same formula. So if you're using that, it's the same. But I'll type it in so that you can understand where that's coming from. So you're going to type in SUM, all caps, in sum. You're going to hit the open parentheses, and then you're going to click and drag from B2 all the way down to B23. You're going to close your parentheses and hit enter, and look at that. It totals it all up for you. It does all the hard work. So there, that is what we have budgeted for the total income. So we'll compare this to our monthly income, which we said was $4,500 for this example. We're saying, oh, okay, we're a little over $500 under budget. That's awesome. That's cool. That's, like I said earlier, either money you can use to pay down some debt or use to invest. The choice is yours, you and your spouse or whoever is involved in your financial decisions. So now we're going to move into actual costs. So this is the hard part. So creating the budget is easy, but following through is where it's challenging. So how to fill this out? So what my wife and I do is starting at the beginning of the month, we sit down every single Sunday during the month and review what we spent in the previous week and look to see if we need to make any cutbacks in order to come at or under budget, depending on how the month is going. So I'll fill out a quick example real quick so you can see what that looks like and kind of visualize it. So for mortgage, I know for my mortgage, utilities, gas, and internet auto insurance, they stay pretty much the same during the month. So for the sake of example, I'm going to carry those over because I know they'll be about the same. Student loan payment, again, still 0. That's not going to change anytime soon. Groceries, here's a good start. Okay, so for groceries, we usually do an order every Monday, or we'll get groceries every Monday. So we'll say for the first Monday, it was $71.84. We'll say we made that order on Monday. So it equals, and that's our total. But of course, we want to be able to add to it. So we'll hit the plus sign so we can add more to it. Let's say on Friday, I had to run out and grab a wine bottle because instead of going out for the night, we made dinner for the night, or my wife and I did date night in for the night. So let's say I had to go out and grab wine. We'll say, I'm a cheap guy. We'll say $15 for the night or for wine. So we'll add that, and boom, those were our grocery expenses for the week. Gas, kind of saying we'll hit the equal sign there. We'll type in 57.97. again, arbitrary number. Clothes, cleaner, haircut. My wife got her eyebrows done, so we'll say I think she said it's around $15. Education, we didn't spend anything on that this month. Dog expenses, I bought dog food the other day. I usually like to buy, multiple bags at once, so I bought 2 bags for 130, about 130 the other day. For housing items, we'll say my wife bought a new pillow because she wanted to keep our house in season. Now, some of you are asking, of course, well, oh, is that essential? No, it's not. It's not essential, but we like the house to look nice, and it's nice to come home when it's season, or it's nice to come home and it looks decorated. I appreciate that. Now, don't get me wrong. If we had debts that we still need to pay off and prioritize, we wouldn't be budgeting to pay for pillows and stuff like that. So that's something that you, if you have other people in your life, have to discuss with your budget. Car expenses, we're doing oil change, so I think I spent like $45 on everything the other day. Travel, like I said, travel to planned. Entertainment, we'll probably go to a movie or something, so we'll put in like $40 for that. Eating out, we usually do at least once a week. We'll say it was about 53.54. Hobbies, my wife, she bought a book the other day, so that was about $23. Subscriptions, it's funny, some of these, like Xbox, for those is only once a year payment. So how do you budget for that is the question. What I like to do is usually I'll just keep track of when it'll charge. For me, it's August of every year, and I'll just increase that budget for that specific month. But if you want, you can kind of make it more routine and split up the cost during the month. So we'll say so far we spent 20 in our budget for the month. Gifts, like I said, none, 0. People medical, 0, and then our Fledge factor, nothing so far. And then we do the same thing in total. It's cool. So what you can do on Google Sheets is you can click on the previous one over. You see this little dot down here? We're going to click on this dot, drag it over, and look, it totals up. It already adjusts the formula for us. And you can see the orange highlight there highlights everything that's adding up. And we can see that's where we're at. We'll say this is after week 1. So I'm going to throw in a different example real quick so you can kind of see if you're over budget, if you're budgeting or if your actual costs are different during the month, how can you adjust to that? All right, so we'll keep most of these the same, but let's say the AC in our car went out, and it's the summertime, so it's pretty hot. I'm in El Paso right now, so it sucks during the summer. It's very hot, so we definitely want to get that fixed quickly. I can say I think on I spent somewhere around $1,000 to get my AC fixed. So we'll say we got the oil done, but we also had to pay $1,000 for new AC. So I hit enter. And obviously early in the month, that doesn't change too much. But let's see, what if we added all these things together? Or what if we carried all our costs over budget-wise? So we'll go all the way like this, carry this over. Oops, I forgot to equals. So see, I made a mistake here. I hit plus sign, but I didn't make it a formula, so we didn't add it together. So we'll go back there and just hit the equal sign. And now it becomes a formula. You can see how it's highlighted blue. Hit enter, and now it adds up all together. All right. We'll go the rest of the way down, carry this over. And look, if we budgeted accordingly to how we spent, and we have the car expense, you can see we're over. We're at $4,800 for our actual costs, and our monthly income is $4,500. Now, how do we change that? How do we fix that? The short answer is, okay, well, what are our non-essentials? What can we cut back on? Maybe my wife doesn't need to buy things for the house this month, so we'll take that and make that 0. We probably don't need to go out to eat as much. And I think there's still value in dating your spouse, so I still want to prioritize some of it, but maybe we'll just cut it down to 100 instead. And look at that, we're already dropping that down. Now we're at 45.70. We're almost at budget. We need to cut $70 more. Now, how are we going to do that? So we'll say, let's say we already bought the book. So we're already in on $23 on the book. We still don't spend the rest of that, do we? We just say, okay, we have the book now. We bought what we bought, but we don't have to buy anything else. So where else can we cut? Let's see. All right, for dog expenses, I said the food cost me $130. Sometimes, maybe once a month, once every other month, we'll buy them a toy too. They don't need a toy every month. They'll be okay. So look at that. We're right at $44.98. That's just under $450. We are now at budget. So that's a way you can kind of game plan your budget based off what you think you will spend to what you actually spent, so that you can focus on not spending more than you make. So now the point of this video is, whether you choose to budget or not, it's up to you. It takes discipline and teamwork, if you marry or have kids or have other people that have a stake in your financial health, to stick to. But once you find yourself with a monthly surplus, you can use that money to invest and have that money make money for you in the future. More on that in a future video. Thank you again for watching. I hope you learned something today. Like and subscribe to learn more with me, and leave a comment below on your most expensive monthly expense.